I'm going to start by introducing myself and Laura. So yes, I work in partnerships at CanadaHelps, and my colleague Laura, who's joining us, also works in partnerships. She was introduced as Eastern Canada lead, but she was just promoted, so this is her new position. So nice to meet you all. So as you probably know, Giving Tuesday started, goes back about 8 years now. It was 2012 in the US and 2013 in Canada. And it was born out as kind of a response to the emerging Black Friday, Cyber Monday wave that was happening and continuing to happen, where a group of people just said to themselves, why don't we, I mean, what if we could we start a movement that's not about this consumerism that happens right after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and really speaks to people's, you know, that sort of common human need that we all have to help others and give back to the community, and dedicate a day to that idea. And this idea really, really caught on. So Canada was the first country actually to expand on it outside of the US. CanadaHelps was part of that founding, one of the founding organizations that started it in Canada, and that's why we have a role here in this now. And then it kind of spread, so the idea really, really caught on, and just the idea that anybody can participate and be generous in any way that's accessible to them. And now there are over 70 countries that have official movements. As you can see from all these hearts all over the map, everybody interprets Giving Tuesday for their own country in their own way, using their colors, and really sets their own objectives, as long as the Giving Tuesday movement fits into the overall philosophy of, you know, open and inclusive, and anybody can participate, and any act of generosity counts, and nothing is too small. So yeah, it's really taken off around the world. Here's just a few little shots of various ways Giving Tuesday has been celebrated around the world. So there's Spain, Pakistan, Argentina, and Kenya, among many, many other countries. In Canada, we're going to take a look at some of the results briefly. So this was one of many flag raisings that we saw across the country last year. So 2019 was our 7th year in Canada. And as many of you may know, we also had an 8th Giving Tuesday that happened in May this year. So May 5th, as an emergency response to the COVID pandemic, we had our 8th Giving Tuesday. But going back to last December, which feels like years ago, there were 7,000 registered charities and businesses that had, you know, been to sign up on the Giving Tuesday website and share, you know, what they plan to do to celebrate or to fundraise or whatever they were doing for Giving Tuesday. And we know that number is probably underestimated, because lots and lots of organizations participate without actually registering. There's no requirement to register. It just gets you onto a mailing list where we send you resources and stuff. So we know there are many, many more that are organizations and of course individuals that are participating than are registering. We also know from survey data that there are millions of Canadians that get involved. And the most common way that people get involved is through donations. But the other thing the survey data tells us is that most people do more than one thing. So they're often donating, and then they're also volunteering, or they're doing some kind of a drive, or they're engaging on social media. So the data really show us that people like to engage in multiple ways, which is a really interesting finding and important for the way that you plan your campaign. Across Canada, we have 43 movements in local areas, or what we call communities. So these communities are mostly geographic, but some of them are also like cause areas. So there's a literacy movement, which groups together a few different organizations that are working for literacy. There's science, there's a labor movement of people as part of trade unions that want to give back. So all these community movements are like little microcosms of Giving Tuesday, and they really help to kind of get the word out to local organizations that want to participate, and also to the people in the communities. Really, it's a great way to reach sort of the grassroots in every community, and maximize the chances that people can get involved in their community. Born out of these community movements are just all kinds of really great non-financial ways of giving back. So these are just some examples of different drives and campaigns that we saw just in 2019 that are beyond the fundraising or other than the fundraising. So really fun and inspiring, and we hope that, you know, maybe some of these ideas will appeal to you as well. Of course, Giving Tuesday is huge for fundraising. So this is really showing just data on the CanadaHelps platform. But, you know, even in the 7th year, and so 2019, we were still seeing 50% growth in donations during that 24-hour period. So it really hasn't lost any sort of fundraising power, and in fact, it's actually gaining. So the more organizations that participate, the more people that become aware. Giving Tuesday has become one of the biggest days for donations transactions of the year. So we do have a data collaborative that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But one of the findings was that in Canada, across all the platforms that reported for the 24 hours of Giving Tuesday, the donations amounted to 22 million. That's just online. And we know that not all platforms were reporting, and there's lots and lots of donating that goes on offline. So this is really just a small, we think, a proportion or a fraction of what the total money raised is, or the potential to raise for this coming Giving Tuesday. I had mentioned a few minutes ago that we also did Giving Tuesday in May. We called it Giving Tuesday Now, and it was just a chance for organizations that really needed help right away. So sort of that sense of urgency. We need this now and not to wait till December. And I mean, I'm not sure what each of you individually have experienced, but certainly on the CanadaHelps platform, a few weeks after COVID hit, we were seeing massive increases in donations, Canadians really stepping up to donate. So we were up a lot. So we were already on a giving plateau when coming into Giving Tuesday Now, and we didn't know what to expect. Like, would people have already given and not give again, or would we run up against an issue in terms of raising donations on Giving Tuesday Now? And it turned out that the donations were 4 times higher on that day than they had been for the average Tuesday leading up to COVID. So all this to really illustrate that there's a lot of giving going on out there, and we believe, and it's continuing, by the way. I mean, that was back in May, but we've seen the same trends continue throughout the summer, that giving is up across the board. So do not be shy about fundraising for this coming Giving Tuesday. Just take a little quick look at some other data from around the world. There is a growing group of platforms and other organizations collaborating to put data together to give basically worldwide insights into giving, not just on Giving Tuesday, but a lot of this data it goes back 5 to 10 years, and it's longitudinal data. So it's every day of the year, not just Giving Tuesday. And it gives us insights into how giving is changing over time, what people are giving to, when they're giving, and why they're giving. So there are some really interesting things. I'll just take you through a couple of little findings. So in the US, Giving Tuesday is even bigger. They measured $2 billion in 2019 in online and offline. The online only was half a billion, so 511 million. And then for Giving Tuesday Now, oops, why isn't it going? There, it was almost as big. So that is another illustration of how Giving Tuesday Now really, well, the COVID pandemic has really brought out the generosity of givers around the world, not just in Canada, but the fact that giving in May could be as high as it was last December for Giving Tuesday is really quite incredible. This is data that just shows that people are giving in multiple ways. So this is in a few different countries this survey was done. So while 28% only gave money, 37% also gave in other ways, or sorry, they gave in other ways but didn't give money. So that would be things like doing drives and other ways of volunteering. And then 35% did both, giving money and something else. So that's a really high proportion of people that really want to engage other than financially or in addition to financially. It's really interesting. This is another survey where people were talking about how they're inspired by Giving Tuesday, and one of the findings was that they wanted to give on that day so that they could be part of something bigger. So the fact that people around the world are giving, this allows them to be part of a bigger group of people doing good. And that's a very strong sentiment in multiple countries. So I think the message here is now more than ever, people are giving, people want to give, but they're also looking for a relationship. So rather than just a gift, where it's just a transaction, they're looking to engage with your organization in other ways. So we really encourage you to look for those ways, however you can make them relevant to you and your work, to find that relationship with them and bring them into your mission in a way that's meaningful to them beyond just the fundraising, which of course is important. This is one of my favorite shots. This was Giving Tuesday Now, and those are Canada Post boxes, and each box has a little note on it, which is a note of inspiration, or it's going to be okay, or have a great day. Or so some great soul went to the trouble of creating all these. I think this little girl was involved, actually, made all these little post-it notes and put them up on the mailboxes in celebration of Giving Tuesday Now. So I just thought that was really sweet. So we're just going to talk about a few ways that you can get involved and create some kind of a campaign for Giving Tuesday. So of course, the first and most obvious is fundraising. And so I'm going to hand over to Laura, who's going to talk about some of the tools that we have at Canada Helps that could help you if you haven't already got your fundraising pages organized. So go ahead, Laura.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lys. I've seen that presentation before, but I always love that reminder of all the things that have been going on. And it's so cool to see how the movement's kind of grown over the years. So yeah, thanks so much for that. So as Lys said, I want to change gear a little bit and take a look, I guess, more directly at how you would then sort of be able to convert that support and those dollars on Giving Tuesday. So as a little bit of background on Canada Helps, I'm sure some of you that have tuned in have probably maybe spoken to some of us before or work with us sort of quite closely. But for anyone that maybe doesn't, we are a charity ourselves, and really our mission is sort of twofold. So we want to increase giving across Canada, but we also want to democratize access to online fundraising tools for charities of any size. So for anyone that does have a free fundraising account with Canada Helps, the tools I'm just going to touch on now, you'll actually already have access to these tools. They're right in the account. You can dive in and get started. For anyone that maybe doesn't have an account with Canada Helps, it's free to sign up for a fundraising account, and you get access to all of these tools. So you can always head to Canada Helps and do that there. And I think, yeah, as another thing to say before I kind of show you a couple of examples is we build all of these tools, but we also have a huge kind of team. Well, I say huge, I feel like we're huge because we've grown a little bit. We're not that big, but we've got a team on hand that are really sort of here to help you kind of mobilize your fundraising initiatives, especially around Giving Tuesday. I kind of work within the engagement team, and really our job at CanadaHelps is to make sure that organizations know sort of what they have access to here in terms of fundraising and how to kind of implement these tools in the best way possible so that all of those awesome people that want to support you can do that really easily. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. We've not got too much time, so I always just want to mention, if you want any more support or want to talk about anything in more detail, you can always reach out to us as well. So yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen because I want to show you first off a couple of tools that you can use here on Giving Tuesday. Now, hopefully you can see my screen, Lys. You might have to prompt me if not.
Whiteboard, seeing whiteboard.
Whiteboard, okay, that's not what we want to see. Let's take a look here. Any better, or is it still the whiteboard there? Oh, here we go. Zoom's giving me usual
there you go.
problems. Ta-da! There we go. We got there in the end. It's all Zoom fun. Awesome. So yeah, so with Giving Tuesday, some of you may have started to kind of think about your campaign idea. Maybe you know what you're going to sort of ask of supporters this year. That sort of ask that you want to reach out and communicate with people. What we're going to look at here now is kind of the actual physical tools you can then use to sort of allow people to make that donation and complete that gift to you. So I think this year, more than ever, it's obviously always important, but this year is obviously going to be a little bit different. There'll probably be a big demographic of donors that maybe normally will just come in and maybe give your organization a check or pass along some cash. Obviously, that could be a little bit different this year. So now more than ever, you want to make sure that it's as easy as possible for people to make a donation on Giving Tuesday, but also kind of any other day of the year as well. So the most kind of powerful tool that you've got sort of at your fingertips here with CanadaHelps is what we call our custom donation form. And this is an example that we're sort of looking at here. This is one that I kind of popped together in our account. I'm sure you can create something a lot better than this. But this basically, what this tool allows for, a lot of you I'm sure will already have like a general donation form that's on your website. But this tool allows you to create an unlimited number of these donation forms. So they can be really useful for specific days, such as Giving Tuesday or specific campaigns, to allow you to create a sort of platform that's very, very custom and very branded for that kind of message that you're passing out to your supporters. So within the CanadaHelps, you can kind of head in and you can create one of these forms in sort of 5-10 minutes. And there's a couple of things that can be really cool to sort of utilize here, especially for Giving Tuesday. So the first thing about this form is that you can completely brand it and customize it, which I think is so important if you are kind of pushing out a message or you're asking something particularly of supporters. You want them to be driven back to somewhere where they can give, that kind of carries through that same message, that same branding, same imagery. So with all of these forms, you can pop kind of a really nice image in the background. You can pop sort of a little bit of text here to the side just to reiterate that kind of message and that support, thanking people for their support or kind of reiterating what that ask is going to go towards. But then a couple of kind of other customizations that can be really useful, especially on Giving Tuesday. One of which is this sort of fundraising goal bar here. So we find that especially on days such as Giving Tuesday, it can be really useful to have a goal. It just kind of means that people are really motivated to sort of do something quite urgently, but also, as Lys mentioned, people are really inspired to kind of be part of a community. So we find that kind of having this forward-facing goal bar can be quite a nice way for people to, when they are coming to this page to sort of give, they see people have given before. It's not just them, everyone's kind of helping your organization to sort of hit your goal. So a really nice kind of way just to kind of keep track of those donations that are coming in there. Another couple of things that can be really nice to use, I guess, all year round, but especially for Giving Tuesday, these forms do allow you to pop up some pre-suggested donation amounts. So again, maybe your Giving Tuesday campaign has a particular ask, for example here, this $20. the 20, the 40, the 100. And then what I've done here is linked this to a little line of impact. So that again, when donors are kind of coming to this page, they know what they've been asked for, that you would ask them to kind of give that $20. They know exactly what that's going towards. So just some like nice little kind of features that you can utilize there just to make this experience a bit nicer for donors. I think really with all of these things, especially for Giving Tuesday, it's nice just to have a really custom experience for donors to be kind of going through. So they know they're part of your Giving Tuesday campaign. They're not kind of being sent back to just kind of a general form. They're coming to something that's really specific. They know exactly what they're involved with. Makes it really easy for them to kind of pop in how much they want to donate, pop in their details, and sort of with one final click, they'll then make that donation to your organization. They will receive their tax receipt, as they will do whenever they kind of give through Canada Helps. But another really useful thing to think about on Giving Tuesday here is that with each one of these forms, you can actually customize the thank you message that is attached to these forms. So whenever someone gives, they'll get an email with their tax receipt attached that you can actually write as your organization. So you can thank that donor very specifically for being involved in that sort of Giving Tuesday campaign there. So yeah, if I sort of recommend anything, definitely get a specific form up and running and ready to kind of go to share along with your Giving Tuesday message. Extra bonus points if you can actually add this form directly to your website. So this form that we're looking at has been created in Canada Helps. It takes 5-10 minutes to do this. It will generate you a specific URL that you can then sort of share. But what you can also do with these forms, as you'll see in this example here, you can actually embed them directly onto your own website. So this is a really nice example of another kind of more focused campaign. You'll see forms very similar in terms of the different sort of elements that the donor has to fill in, but it's actually embedded onto this organization's website. And what I mean by that is it sort of lives under their own domain and is kind of completely sort of branded directly to them. So it's not something you have to do, but kind of bonus points if you can, because then it means that you're driving people directly to your website, which is always obviously fantastic. Hopefully they hang around and get a bit more involved and maybe commit sort of longer term. But with these donation forms, you have both options. So you can just share that kind of standalone URL, or you can also embed it directly into your website. So just kind of definitely the tool you want to be using, that sort of custom donation form. Once you've kind of got that form up and running, just wanted to touch on a couple of different ways that you can actually share these forms, which will definitely be useful in terms of Giving Tuesday. So first of all, if you are sending out emails or maybe you have e-newsletters, you can hyperlink these forms directly to there. So maybe you have a button in there that's kind of click to donate, that's talking all about your Giving Tuesday campaign. The donor will click, and with one click, they can kind of land on one of these beautifully branded forms, make their donation. Another way is obviously through social media, which I'm sure Lys can attest to is really important. Obviously join Giving Tuesday. There'll be a lot of kind of noise on there. So another cool way to kind of share these forms out. Another way that I always like to point out, because this organization did this really, really well, is you can actually purchase your own specific domain, which can be a really cool way to sort of share out your option for people to give. This is an example here of an organization that did this. So the Canadian Olympic Foundation, they actually purchased a domain which was signtheflag.ca. So this was basically their kind of campaign, that's what it was all about. So they were encouraging people to make a donation. And if they did make a donation, their name would be written on the flag that the Olympians would carry at the end of the Olympic Games. So they had this kind of sign the flag idea. They created this beautiful form, which they've done here on Canada Helps again. And then rather than just sharing kind of the URL that's generated by Canada Helps, they actually purchased signtheflag.ca, which it can kind of cost $10, $20 to buy a domain. It's really cheap these days. And then they redirected their donation form to this URL. So what that means is then when they're maybe on radio or putting something into print about this campaign, they're kind of saying, head to Sign the Flag to make a donation, head to signtheflag.ca to make a donation. A donor kind of pops that in, clicks onto there, and they're redirected to this donation form that they can kind of land on there. So just a couple of like little ways that you can then sort of share this form out. One other way, which I'm always reluctant to bring in because I don't even like mentioning the word COVID anymore, it's all we ever talk about, but something we have seen a little bit of a resurgence in is linking these donation forms to QR codes. So a QR code, if you haven't kind of seen one before, is those sort of funny, I guess, square symbols that often you'll spot nowadays on restaurant tables. You can take a picture of them, it will bring whoever's phone that is, it will prompt them to a URL they can click on, and you then sort of visit that website. You can actually generate online a free QR code. If you just Google free QR generator, there's loads of websites that do it. It allows you to put a URL against a QR code. It will generate that for you. Link one of these forms to a QR code, and then again you have something, I guess, a little bit sort of novelty to sort of share around. You can put it maybe on print that's sending out, maybe on a poster on the front of your office if your office isn't open at the moment. And again, it just makes it really easy for people to head straight to these donation forms and make that donation there. One last little thing I want to mention just before I pass back to Lys. I always talk too much, Lys. Sorry if I'm eating into your time here. So all of these donation forms that we've looked at have been created in the CanadaHelps charity fundraising account. If you dive into there, it's really easy to set one up. You head to a tab that's called donation forms, and it will walk you through in a very templated fashion how to do that. If maybe that's something that you're kind of not going to get round to this year, but you'd still really like one of these forms to get sharing, GivingTuesday has very nicely created one of these forms for every single organization that partners with them. So if you don't want to dive into that account and kind of make it very sort of customized, you still can have a really branded form pre-created for you. To do that, you can simply jump to givingtuesday.ca. You kind of click onto this charities, become a partner. It will prompt you for a couple of details just to get started, one of which will be your charitable business number. And with that, it will automatically generate a donation form for you, which will look very, very similar to this. It will just have your appropriate organization up here at the top. But then again, just a really easy way to have something a little bit more custom this Giving Tuesday to be sort of driving donors to, so they can have a really nice experience when they're supporting you. So yeah, Lys, I will pass over to you. Sorry if I'm
Thank you, Laura.
myself.
I just want to add, this custom donation form that you're looking at, you can also get that by clicking, if you were a donor, you can just click on donate to any charity, and you can find your own donation form by doing that too.
Oh, awesome.
You actually have to register to be a partner to get your donation. Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Okay, so you're jumping onto that. There you go. Learning something as well.
Okay, so I am going to go back to share my screen. Let's see if this works. Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I can see that there.
Okay, great. So actually, I want to time check with Daryl. Is it okay if we take another 5 minutes? We're just almost at the end. Okay to take 5 minutes before the Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. You have until 2 o'clock. So.
Okay. I thought we only had half an hour. All right, good. So I just want to talk about matching gifts for a moment. All the data is showing us that matching gifts are very motivating. I'm sure you all know that. Here's an example of a really cute one that just did incredibly well with Feed Nova Scotia and Sobeys matching for Giving Tuesday. And they really executed nicely, and they've done really well with that over multiple years, actually. But just to say that if you don't have a matching program in place, it's Giving Tuesday is a great reason that you can use to reach out to either corporations or many organizations now. Just reach out to a major donor that you know that you can count on and ask them if their gift could be used for matching. So if you know somebody's going to give you $10,000 anyway, then ask them if they would be open to you leveraging their gift to raise even more, to make even more impact. And that way you can get involved with this matching, which is very motivating to donors, especially on Giving Tuesday. Another way, non-financial, to get mobilizing is volunteers. We know from survey research that volunteers are looking for opportunities on Giving Tuesday. It's not as easy as it used to be. since the onset of COVID, obviously, but we know from Giving Tuesday now that there were huge numbers of drives and activities that were safely executed, and that people really, a lot of them that are home now looking for ways to get involved. If you can find something that's safe that you can promote, then it's a great time to attract volunteers. It's also a time to engage your current volunteers, and even just to thank them. Speaking of thanks, we know that thanking is a huge thing on Giving Tuesday. Some organizations choose not to fundraise. We highly recommend that you do, but if you're not, or even if you are fundraising and you want to do a thank you campaign, it's a great time to do it. It works really, really well as a celebration of generosity, just to say, wow, you know, you guys have supported us all year. Thank you so much. And we know that often that has fundraising halo effect as well. So we encourage you to get on the thanking bandwagon. And the thanking, of course, can be, it can be more than just your supporters. It can be your volunteers. It can be your partners. There can be lots of ways to get involved in thanking on Giving Tuesday. There's a new thing called Spark this year. So Giving Tuesday Spark was started by this girl in the center picture. Her name is Chloe. And at the time she started it last year, she was 12 years old. And Spark is basically a movement to engage youth in generosity. And they have a goal of engaging 1 million youth around the world. They've already got Spark activities starting in multiple countries. There are some starting now in Canada. I'm actually doing a Spark workshop at 3 o'clock with some kids. So, you know, if you've got anything in your organization that could engage kids, or this speaks to you, look into it. Go find the just go Google Giving Tuesday Spark, or look on the Giving Tuesday Canada website, and there's a blog post about Spark, and get excited, because these kids are our future. The other really cool thing about Giving Tuesday I talked about earlier is this concept of local community movements. And so if you now I'm going to put Vivian on the spot because I see that she's on the webinar too. Vivian is interested in helping to start something in Durham region, and we were so excited to hear about that. So if anybody on this webinar is interested in doing that as well, that's how it works basically, is people step up and they say, look, I'd like to be part of a team of leaders, or I'd like to be a leader in Durham. So you know, it can involve things like organizing events a little bit more virtual. It could be convening Zoom, like more people to attend a webinar and find out how they can get involved in Giving Tuesday. It could be a drive-through, you know, collection of some kind, a book drive or a food drive. There's all kinds of ways that communities activate. So if you're not involved, think about getting involved. Another really fun non-financial way of getting involved is the Unselfie campaign. I think it's clear what that is. It's the antithesis of the selfie, I guess, to be unselfish and giving, basically to get you as charitable organizations would engage your supporters, your community, in promoting you and your mission on social media. So the idea is just that people post pictures and talk about why they support you and why they're involved with you. Even if you don't do Unselfie, whatever your activity is on Giving Tuesday, we really encourage you to get involved on social media. As Laura said, it's more and more a great way for engaging all kinds of different people, but a lot of individuals. And we know that the donations driving through social media are really, really important. So do get involved, post what your goals are, what your campaign is about. Don't forget to use those hashtags. Giving Tuesday CA is our Canadian specific. It's much easier for us to see what you're up to if you use that one, because Giving Tuesday is trending like a million miles an hour ticker tape on Giving Tuesday. So Giving Tuesday CA is great, and hashtag #unselfie works really well too. If you're raising funds, or if your call to action on social media is for donations, make sure that you're linking directly to a donation form. Any of the ones that Laura talked about. Also, I should say, you know, you're not required to use Canada Helps. Of course, we would love that, but you can use, if you're using another platform, you can use any donation form that you want. But if you're promoting donations on social media, make sure you're not making people click too many times before they get to the form. If you want to become an official partner, we would love that. You can sign up on givingtuesday.ca. There's lots of resources. We're mailing out every week different, you know, links to different information and resources. There's 2 toolkits that are pretty useful. There's a campaign planning toolkit that to help you kind of think through some of the steps, you know, setting your goal and getting your team on board. And then there's a comms toolkit, which is really great because it just talks about some, you know, tips for how to get your comms in the best, you know, best way possible, the best practices for Giving Tuesday. Of course, last but not least, save the date. It's coming up fast, December 1st. And, oh, I already said that. So we'd be very happy to take questions.